Hi, and welcome to the Divinely Inspired Woman podcast. I am your host, Patricia Wald-Hopkins. I am a modern mystic, and I am here to share with you the beautiful wisdom and stories from women that desire to lead their lives inspired by the divine within them. The divinely inspired woman is devoted to walking the path of her soul's calling, tuning into the divinity within to navigate life with ease and grace through all circumstances. She cultivates beauty in her daily life. She is here to share the most authentic self each day through thick and thin. So I hope you'll enjoy our show today and that you will leave with an infusion of inspiration for your soul and for your day and living your life. Hello and welcome to this episode of The Divinely Inspired Woman. My name is Patricia Wald-Hopkins, and I have a beautiful guest with me today, Cynthia Phillips. She is a shamanic practitioner, ordained priestess of the rose, facilitator for Sophia Circle Journeys, an energy practitioner, and also works with ancestral healing. She is passionate about aligning you with your authentic self and coming into remembrance of your most magical self. I threw in the most magical self. I love that. Yeah. So welcome, Cynthia. Thank you for being with us here today.
Thank you for having me.
How are you doing today?
Yeah, today I am feeling it has been, Hurricane Ian has been making its way to where I am in the world, which is outside DC. So I am feeling the effects of the hurricane. I'm feeling the energy of wind and change and the purification of the water. But the water realm also brings me into very big depths, and yeah, it's always a cleansing and purification, but I'm feeling that in all the dimensions.
Yeah, so a lot of energy moving through the field right now, right?
Yes,
right. A lot of definitely. Water. A lot of water. So, I'm going to close this little chat box. So tell me a little bit about your path of divine inspiration or living your life through divine inspiration. Does that resonate with you at all? I mean, I assume it might since you're here, but
yeah, it does. And it's sweet. Actually, like it makes me tearful when you say that, even because like my inner child is actually who's coming forth right now, because she's always been the one that's always known, and she's always been divinely inspired. And I've always been known to passionately follow my heart, even though it has led to unexpected places, even though it has looked very rebellious. And when I look back and, with the 6 planets in retrograde, where we are now, I don't know when you'll be listening to this live, but where I'm now physically is coming out of 6 planets in retrograde, where I have been very much in the remembrance and the cycles. And as that has been coming up and purified, I could just tap into that feisty Cindy in me that was just like, would just do anything, just do anything that she knew that she would do fearlessly, because she was just following her heart. And when I do look at all the crazy things that I have done without knowing what I was doing, I do have to send that past me all the love and gratitude, because divine inspiration is a very tricky thing to follow sometimes.
Yeah.
And it really is looking and feeling like you're blindfolded. But it puts a feistiness in me when it does have to happen, when I am at those breakthrough moments and those push throughs. And so Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of the, I've had some people talk about the divine inspiration coming through almost in a point of stillness, like when they allow themselves to get super, super, super still, and then an energy just sort of washes through them, and then a clarity happens. How is it for you?
I love that you mentioned the stillness, because if my spirit guides and have to prompt me on any one thing, it is to try to get me to slow down. And the faster that my life goes, the more important it is for me to take those times of stillness. And I have also found it interesting, because as my intuitive gifts have been coming online more and more, and my intuitive knowing, and I actually find that as the gifts come online, I have to come into more stillness, more listening, because the clues become more subtle. So whereas I was like, oh, it would be easier to hear all of the things because I'm more attuned, it's been much different. It's actually like really coming into a complete quiet space where you can really listen.
Yeah. Really, really listen. It's almost like when you do that meditative practice where you sit and you just listen, and you listen like farther and farther away from you, so that maybe you could hear what's down in the canyon almost, but it's like what's up there or what's deep within you. Is that true for you? Is it something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting, because one of my favorite tools that can immediately drop me just like that when I know that it's time is if I just go shh.
Oh, wow.
And if I just go shh, it automatically like makes me listen, but it makes me listen in with a depth to it.
Oh,
and
wow.
It does pause everything else. And so if anything seems to shush me from around, like it could be anything that's getting that's trying to get my attention, I might even use that just to immediately put myself in that listening mode. And it's fun and it's easy.
I love that.
Yeah.
As like, oh, so it's like putting the brakes on the monkey mind almost, right? Or the moving of the body everywhere to get away from feeling uncomfortable. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it does work like magic. It does quiet the monkey mind like fast.
Yeah. So on this journey that you have been on, what has been the most powerful connection, or what is your power connection? That's what's coming through for me to ask you. What is your power connection to the divine? Does that resonate? Does it make sense to you? Because that's what I'm hearing.
Well, yeah, when you say power connection, what immediately comes to my mind is lightning medicine.
All right, there you have it. Lightning medicine. Tell me a little bit about that.
The lightning medicine has actually come to me from many different lineages and angles. And so it is a very interesting one, because I've received the lightning medicine in so many different ways.
Okay.
But I'm actually wearing the dragon pendant from the Sophia Code right now. That's the dragon pendant. And there is a lightning bolt in the middle of it, of the dragon wings.
Oh, wow.
And when I first actually put on this pendant, and it was during Kaya Ra's turning trauma into soul power, when they began that journey, and I was in that journey too, I wasn't even at the live call, but I literally felt like I had been struck by lightning, and I had to drink so much water, and I was just like, oh my goodness, like I'm full of lightning, I'm full of so much fire, like what am I even going to do with this? And then I realized that it was turning trauma into soul power. And then I had this beautiful vision of all of us as dragons just like flying into the sun. And I was seeing all that was happening as we were healing our own traumas and the huge impact it was having on the world. And it was just amazing. and magical. And then like the lightning medicine is coming through that. It's been coming in through the Lakota Trishan and Sundance ceremonies. It has been coming through people I've met that have literally been struck by lightning or been really close. But what it means to me is it is instantaneous miracles. It's like instantaneous change. It's instantaneous healing. It is lightning. It is electric. And it's just like the snap of the fingers, it is done. Wow. So, yeah. And, Oya's kind of coming in right now too. So like I say, there's a lot of different lineages that I see this lightning medicine coming in through. But yeah, it could feel stormy sometimes, but it's nothing to be scared of. It's actually like the biggest, that's what we all want, right? Instantaneous healing.
Instantaneous.
Yeah. I mean, I'm seeing Zeus with the lightning bolts.
Yeah. Who's the other one? Thor is the other one, right?
Yeah, Thor.
Thor. But you know what it reminds me of? It's interesting when you say that lightning medicine, like when you do that, to me, that's like that, that point. Like, boom, boom, right there on the spot. Yeah.
And I guess that's what it is, because I'm also just like wanting to just snap my finger like that and say it is done.
Yeah. Oh wow. That is power. That is a power.
Yeah.
That is your power.
And, but when I am in sacred space and through the shamanic tools that I do with the ancestral, with all of them, the Akashic records, the shamanic, the shamanic journeys that I do for ancestral healing, the energy transmissions, like it is a place where that instantaneous healing like does occur, all orchestrated by your higher self. And it's literally that magical.
Wow. That's fascinating. I can feel the power of that single pointedness, right? That still point. It's like, stop, pay attention, let it come. Let the
yes happen. And thank you for saying still point, because that's the other thing, like the lightning knows its strike, right? And it's very precise.
Is it like almost like a rebirth energy in a sense? I don't know why that comes through, like still point, and then it shifts the frequency.
Absolutely. In fact, as you say that, my first, how there he is, if you're a shaman in nature, you're going to have those shaman deaths. And my first one would have been in my 20s, where I actually went into an arrhythmia where my heart went in the wrong pathway. So it wasn't slowing down. It would just go faster and faster. So they actually had to give me adenosine to stop my heart and reset it.
Wow.
And when I kind of like felt back into that later, after a lot more symbolic shamanic rebirths in sweat lodges and other ceremonies, like I was taken back and was like, oh, it has physically happened to me. My heart was completely reset. And that is very much that rebirth energy. And
rebirth energy. Okay. So lightning medicine is associated with a rebirth of perspective or of presence, even, it feels like, for what you bring through in your how does that play into the divine inspiration? I mean, is there a connection? I'm just curious about that, because I know that that's so deep and such deep work. Does that how you bring yourself or others into a greater communion with the divine through that healing? Yeah,
it's through the divine, and actually what I've been really journeying and receiving information about it, because it is very powerful medicine that is as actually like through the heart space. And so coming into it, like fear of power has been a big thing for me to overcome, and very much a part of the journey is like fear of misusing power, fear of the power. And the biggest way that I had to work through that was through divine inspiration. And it was really coming through working with the divine so tangibly And so frequently, until I could embody more and more of it for longer and longer periods of time, that, you know, coming into that oneness and trying to hold that frequency as much as we can, right? Like, it's a daily practice all the time, embodying our higher self and this divine inspiration. But it is through that place that actually gives you the power. And that's where that fear power can be released, because it comes through source. It's very Mother Nature energy in many ways, right? You know, it is that fierce grace and compassion in all forms, because sometimes it is the destruction that's the biggest grace. And sometimes it is just that change that is like literally what we're asking for. And it's just like, bam, here it is. But it is through that divine inspiration and that through that heart space. And so whenever I do even come into those resistances of, you know, or even if I know lightning's coming or like a storm's coming and that fear might want to make its way in, I always just sit in, it's always like emerald green frequencies that really want to come in. And it's really like feeling into my heart center and asking, am I safe in my body right now? Which is normally a yes, right? And then it's feeling it, you know, it's feeling it and transmuting it through that heart center. But it is always through that heart that this lightning medicine is coming. And that's why you can trust it.
That's beautiful. I could almost picture like there's this light, as you were talking, this visualization of your heart, like almost cracking open with light, like, and just this beautiful emanation of divine light shining out. So thank you for sharing that with me. That's my my way of understanding, I think, is visual, you know, seeing visuals of how, when people's words. And the reason I bring that up is what is your language with the divine? Is it through sounds, or you know, like the clair, you know, sentience, right? The different, you know, clairaudient, clairvoyant, clairsentient.
Yeah, clairsentience, whereas in your body, like you feel it in your body, like gut instinct, heart, like though that's by far my strongest, and that's the one that like I can't second guess. Like when it's in my body, I listen, because I'm just like, it's in my body, you know? And I'll even tell people that, like, I feel this in my body, like, especially if I think someone's lying to me and I'm in a confrontation. This is an example. Like I'm in a confronting situation and my body is telling me and sending me all these signals. Like I know I have to listen to it. Like, it's just like, I have to. And then after I listen to those, then in those points of stillness, it's getting more frequent, all of the other ones. You know, sometimes I do get whiffs of smells. Sometimes I do hear things, but mostly, and this is why, kind of going back to the beginning of the call where I say it gets harder, it is becoming the direct knowing where you just know. And so sometimes now when I'm doing my sessions or my one-on-one sessions, whatever it is, like I have to start speaking it out loud before I even have the information. So there is even another further trust that has to go, because it's really instantaneous. It's just knowing. And I do find the direct knowing the most challenging to trust in.
Yeah, right. There's no, it's not as tangible outside of yourself, right? You can't, it's just, I don't know if that makes sense, but I understand the knowing. It's like I just know things and I don't know why I know them. And like you know, for people who maybe are not as familiar with these modes of intuition, you know, like let's say you just know something is going to happen and you don't know why you know it, right? There's that, it's like deep in your body, your gut, and you just feel like there's something something that causes like, it causes your body to shut down that knowing. And then if you do that enough times, then you end up losing like that beautiful channel.
100%.
Would you agree to the divine? Like if you shut down your inner knowing enough times because you don't trust it, or you think that it's made up, or, you know, must just be your imagination or whatever. What would you tell people about that are just getting to know these ways of connecting? Do you have any wisdom for them?
Yeah, it's so funny. I love this question right now because like it was just like a Facebook thing that came on of a horror movie where basically they were seeing, you know, she's like, I see something that nobody else sees, but she was like screaming bloody murder, just screaming bloody murder. She was like absolutely in horror. And I have to giggle at that because I immediately told my husband, I was like, see, this is why the ancestors can't talk to us. I was like, they're trying to talk to us all the time, but then we freak out when we see or hear something else does, because we're now schizophrenic, or now, you know, like one of, you know, I joke with my husband, like one of our wedding vows is he can't throw me in the loony bin. And
I love that.
We joke, but like much later, because in our relationship is when I've had this enlightenment and even been on this spiritual path. It wasn't when we met. And so it's funny to go back to that. And I'm just like, yeah, those are those witches wounds, so to speak, you know, like,
right?
You're crazy for believing this, or how many times we've been gaslighted, or like we're wrong in believing this. And even if it's not that, you know, because I don't want to play the victim card at all, but just like how much fear has been ingrained with accessing our shamanic gifts. Like these are shamanic gifts, right? I mean, but I even find that depending on who I'm talking to, I can't call them shamanic gifts because that's enough to trigger you into such a fear response that it's like your intuition or like gut, you know, like I have to find creative words to even weasel around the verbiage of it, just because of how long in the collective it's been something we've been taught.
It's powerful. It's very powerful. Someone was in another group that I'm a part of, and they were talking about what's the 13 Moons mystery school, and they were talking about the wise woman. Right, we're in the period of the wise woman, and the three ways of knowing are the intuition, right? The instinct, and then not ruling out the mind, you know, the rational mind, but actually the three of those things working simultaneously together. Do you feel a connection between those three in your work that kind of helps ground it, you know, for people who are more mental or more like only trust the rational parts of themselves?
Oh yeah,
that's been a challenge for me.
Especially instinct. I mean, especially instinct. And we all had those personal stories where we ended up getting hurt from not following our instinct. It's just happened. And so it's great that it's the wise woman archetype that really comes in for it, because there's a lot of crone wisdom that comes into that too. Yeah. And you know, whenever we do make these mistakes, I do just imagine, you know, Grandma Crone just giggling, oh, you're going to be okay. You know, like it's all part of the journey, right? So it's like no shame here. But there has been so much where it's our instinct that tells us. And you know, when we haven't listened is always a great lesson on why we should always listen to our instincts, because in the end it is always us that's going to be protecting us, and that instinct is driven into that. And when you're following your instinct, you're following yourself, you know. And that's what you have to really remember, because you'll always be your biggest fan.
That's true.
In the higher realms.
In the higher realms. The higher self.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of someone who's been their own worst enemy.
That's how we often start out, right? We have to make peace with ourselves first, at least on a daily basis sometimes, it seems like. But that's what that divine, the divine inspiration is about, allowing that to come in, at least for me, on a daily basis, right? Because sometimes I feel like I'm, Dr. Heckle and Mr. Hyde, is that what it is?
Yeah.
One day I'm totally in tune, and then the next day something has thrown me off. And if I didn't have a certain practice of that reconnects me, I would, struggle for longer periods of time, I think.
And normalizing that too, because right now we're in Libra season, so it's very much about putting things in balance. And even still, I'm a Libra in my sun and moon, and I'm feeling very wobbly right now.
Okay.
Right. So my visual is Lady Liberty with her mask on, like on a tightrope, and she's like, yeah, she's not straight right now. Like my higher self, like
I so feel that right now. Yeah.
I am very much feeling the wind, but I'm still steady and sure-footed. But where were we going with this?
I think it was about how these practices help, when you do get almost knocked off the tightrope.
Yeah, absolutely. So like, especially in the very beginning where when I would go, I think the first initiation I went was with Eden Adamora with Sun Heart. It was her Sun Heart program. And when I was in that sacred space, I was like, we were up there on the 7th plane, and I was like feeling the bliss and the euphoria and the peace. And like the next day, like, I was just wanting to scream and break bottles, and like just had so much of everything coming up. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? Like, how can I not hold this frequency? And it took me a while. It took me a long while to accept that was actually part of the journey, and that, we do start studying out over time, but especially until you're really used to traveling to those higher dimensions, anchoring into Mother Earth and grounding is by far the most important, but also accepting that, there is a swing first.
Yeah.
And your moments where you're not in that bliss is just as perfect and just sacred. And it has something to tell you, because these are the parts of you that have been suppressed. This is your direct knowing. This is you talking to yourself about what is most passionate for you. This is where your gifts is. This is because it's uncovering your desires by telling you what you're not happy with. And so, honoring your rage, honoring what's considered those darker, denser, shadowy emotions, but like giving them that voice and accepting them just as sacred as when you are in that bliss and ecstasy or joy is very, very, very important. Because it's both. We want both.
The divine in the human body. Yes, it's it's a multi-dimensional experience for sure. Yeah. And I think that from what I'm hearing from you and my own experience and from listening to others, that you can get to that place of acceptance through having a divine, connection to the divine, a way that you connect. Otherwise, there's not that, I don't know, I can't think of a better word, like that eagle eye view of your life, and how what's being presented to you, as you said, is like the medicine that you are calling in for yourself. And you may or may not completely agree with the way I described it, but just the gist of we are divine and we are human, and being divinely inspired means that you may bring down, inspiration from the higher realms, but you still have to go through the human walk with integrating that into, the life that you lead. Would you agree with that? Or what is your How would you share a little bit of wisdom with people on this, more new to this path, about that, about integrating these huge experiences like you described that you had, right? These blissful experiences, and integrating them back into daily life as a spiritual practice.
Honoring it all, because just really knowing that like we are divine beings, and so being divinely inspired is simply just you being aligned with who you are as your highest self. And I think those road bumps for me, they came out of like a lot of unworthiness, a lot of and why aren't I better at this or that? A lot of suppressed rage of what was going on the earth. And honoring and listening to yourself with those things. And then knowing that you could always still return to that point of stillness and peace. And that does come through asking. And if you really have to ask, and we do have so much support. And so whatever that looks like for you, whatever is calling you, it might, for me, I had a lot of religious programming. So it wasn't the angelic realm for me at first. The angelic realm has always been around me, but I wasn't willing to see them. So it was actually spirit animals that came to me first, and the dragons that came to me first, and the storytelling. It's going to be your path of least resistance, but coming into that safe place and finding your equilibrium and what makes you feel safe and what makes you feel in that point of stillness where you can just tune back in with your own heart is a powerful tool that you could return to over and over again.
Beautiful. I love that. Tuning into your heart in stillness, right? I love that.
Yeah.
So as we come to the end of our time together today, is there a good way, what is the best way? Not is there. What is the best way for people to reach out to you or find out more about you and what you do?
Okay, so email is the best way right now. And I do have a landing page for an offering that is very exciting. It's actually a 2-for-1 deal with reduced price. Because it is the dragon realm that's coming in fiercely. It's a very exciting offering where you're basically working with me for like 2 weeks, where we're going to have a divine dragon energy transmission that is really going to be paving the way forward, clearing the obstacles, and inviting the dragons to be working with you for that 2-week portal. And then it will close with an Akashic reading of clearing whatever is blocking you. And so it will actually give you a portal. So you actually have 2 one-on-one sessions with me. And now that it's October, it is ancestral healing. That is my real deep medicine that I love doing, because it is so collective and the healing is just so profound. And so there is a combination deal for the ancestral healing sessions similar to the dragon activations, which are going to be an energy medicine session for you. The shamanic energy session will set the stage, and then it will be an ancestral healing session. And so it's kind of like 4 of my big medicines are kind of like now pairing off in those 2 to 2. It's either like really the dragon one, and the dragon Akashic record is going to appeal you if you really want to come into your soul mastery, that you really want to learn more about yourself on a soul level. And it's very much about you. And the ancestral healing one is going to still be all about you, but it's going to be very much your blood lineage and opening those access points, those shamanic gifts, your communication with your ancestors, and doing that generational healing. So whatever one pings you, but those are the 2 offerings I have right now.
Those are beautiful, powerful. offerings. And so if somebody listens to this, beyond October, you'll still have offerings like that, and they can find
Yes.
you email, which I can share in the write-up or however you prefer. But you're not going anywhere, so I just want to
not going anywhere. No, if anything, I'm only becoming more visible,
and just getting going here.
Yeah, it will only become easier to find me. I think there's a lot more group work coming up in the future too.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. This has really been very, what I want to say is the word enlightening, but it's broadened my perspective of the shamanic work and the ancestral healing and how it connects to the divine within us and all around us. So thank you so much for taking time to be with us. And,
thank you. Such a pleasure. And sending love to all the listeners. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Time with us.
Yep. All right, everyone, take care and stay divinely inspired. And until next time, bye-bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Divinely Inspired Woman. Again, I am your host, Patricia Wald-Hopkins, and I am so glad that you joined us here today. I hope you left with some soul food to inspire your daily life. And if you would like to learn more about my work, please check out my website, patriciawaldhopkins.com, and you can find out more about my divinely inspired practice and tools. So, thank you again. Have a beautiful day. Hi, I'm dropping in here with an announcement about a program, a new mentorship that I am offering. It's called Voices of Gaia, and it's about bringing your voice, your leadership, your life in alignment with Gaia's guidance. So if you feel called to learn more about this program, it's a beautiful, rich program where we dive into your essence, and if you so desire, we develop your business around it and really blossom into your whole lifestyle, this wisdom from Gaia that wants to be spoken through you. So if you feel called, reach out to me at patricia@patriciawaldhopkins.com. That's patricia@patriciawaldhopkins.com. There's no hyphen between Wald and Hopkins. And I would just love to hear from you and see if this is a good fit. So thank you for tuning in. Have a beautiful day.